Close your eyes. Picture Earth, the planet you know. Cities, roads, fields, fences stretching for miles, farms, African deserts, ice caps, forests carved up by highways and houses. Now delete it. All of it. Every single thing a human hand has ever touched. Gone. What's left? That's the world your ancestors were born into. A planet so wild, so loud, so thick with life you wouldn't recognize 1 square meter of it. The Sahara? Green savanna. Rivers. Hippos. The night sky so bright it cast shadows on the ground. And the ground itself, shaking under animals we've since erased from existence. This isn't ancient history the way they teach it in textbooks. This is the actual sensory reality of the planet when our species first showed up. What it looked like. What it sounded like. What was out there in the dark, watching you. Because the world we live in today, it's a pale, quiet, emptied-out shadow of what once existed. When Homo sapiens first appeared, around 300,000 years ago, the continents looked nothing like they do now. Start with the Sahara. Right now, it's the largest hot desert on Earth. 9 million square kilometers of sand and rock. But 10,000 years ago? Green. Dense grasslands. Trees. Rivers. Lakes full of fish. Hippos lived there. Elephants roamed through it. Early humans fished and hunted in what is now one of the most hostile environments on the planet. Scientists call it the Green Sahara, and the evidence is everywhere. Fossilized riverbeds you can see from satellites, cave paintings of people swimming in what's now lifeless desert, crocodile bones buried under meters of sand. What changed it? Partly climate shifts, but also livestock. Goats stripping the vegetation, altering how the land reflected sunlight back into the sky. A lush landscape slowly baked into desert, in part because humans showed up with animals that ate everything. And this wasn't just Africa. Vast forests once covered regions where deserts now dominate. Europe was thick with old-growth woodland, so dense early humans often couldn't walk straight through it. Sea levels sat much lower during the ice ages. Entire landmasses now underwater were above ground back then. People walked between continents on land bridges that no longer exist. The animals, though. The animals are the hardest part to picture. Because what shared this planet with your ancestors was genuinely unlike anything alive today. In Europe, cave lions prowled the landscape. Not modern lions, a version roughly 25% larger, built for the cold. People painted them on the walls of Chauvet Cave in France, which means they saw them often enough to want to record them. Those same caves, shared with cave bears weighing up to 500 kilograms. The cave wasn't free real estate, you competed for it. In the Americas, the list reads like a fantasy novel. Short-faced bears standing 6 feet at the shoulder, the most dangerous land predator on the continent. Giant ground sloths, 10 feet long, over 2,000 pounds, walking on their knuckles because their claws were too massive to lay flat. Glyptodons, armored like tanks, roughly the size of a car. Dire wolves, American lions, mastodons living right alongside woolly mammoths. And horses, because horses actually evolved in the Americas. They only disappeared there around 10,000 years ago, right around when humans arrived. In Australia, it got even weirder. Diprotodon, a wombat the size of a rhino. Marsupial lions prowling around. Megalania, a monitor lizard stretching 7 meters long, still slithering through the bush when humans first set foot on the continent 50,000 years ago. Picture something the size of a car, with teeth, staring at you from the tall grass. And everywhere you looked, mammoths. They weren't some exotic rarity. They were just there, like cattle dotting a field today. People hunted them, painted them on cave walls, built shelters from their bones. The last woolly mammoths didn't even go extinct until about 4,000 years ago, on some remote Arctic island. The pyramids were already standing by then. Humans were carving the Sphinx while mammoths were still walking the earth. So what the hell happened to all of them? Everywhere humans showed up. Africa, Europe, the Americas, Australia. The big animals started disappearing within a few thousand years. Sure, climate played a role, but the timing is too tight, too perfectly synced with human arrival to wave away. The world your ancestors walked into was crawling with giants. The world they left behind? Empty. There was no light pollution, not a single electric bulb anywhere on the planet. Every night, the sky went completely, perfectly dark. The kind of dark almost no one alive today has ever experienced. The Milky Way blazed overhead every clear night, bright enough to throw faint shadows on the ground, every star sharp and visible. Today, about a third of the world's population can't even see the Milky Way from where they live. Your ancestors saw it every single night of their lives. And it wasn't just stunning, it was useful. The sky was their calendar. Certain star clusters rose at the same time every year, telling them when to move, when the rains were coming, when to plant or hunt. The Pleiades show up in the mythology of indigenous cultures on every continent, including groups that had zero contact with each other. That suggests humans were already tracking that cluster before they ever left Africa, over 100,000 years ago. The sky was a shared book that every human on Earth was reading at the same time, long before anyone invented writing. Eclipses, though? Among the most terrifying things imaginable. The sun just dies at noon, no warning, no explanation. And before fire, half of every human life was spent in total darkness. After fire, that circle of light around the campfire became your entire world. Beyond it, absolute blackness. The ancient world was loud, not city loud, alive loud. Insect swarms that built walls of sound you could barely think through. Bird populations so massive their migrations blacked out the sky. Passenger pigeons alone numbered in the billions. Frog choruses around every water source, deafening once the warm months hit. Whale song traveling hundreds of miles through oceans with no ship engines to drown it out. Herds so enormous the ground shook as they passed. Rivers were so clear you could see straight to the bottom. Salmon runs so thick the water looked like it was boiling. The oceans were packed with whales, populations several times larger than today, before commercial whaling kicked into gear in the 17th century. But here's the thing about a world that full. It was also a world that full of death. Your ancestors weren't observing any of this from behind glass. They were in it. Prey just as often as they were predators. Drinking from the same rivers as animals that could rip them apart. Sleeping on the same ground as things that hunted after dark. Every sound mattered. Every shift in animal behavior was a signal. Which way the herd moved, what the wind carried, where water could be found. They read it all constantly, because missing a cue could mean you didn't make it through the week. Their nervous systems were tuned to that world, and ours still are. Deep down underneath everything, the fear responses, the hair trigger awareness, the instincts, all of it wired for that environment. The only difference is we live in a world now where all of that fires off at a phone buzzing on the table instead of something trying to eat us. So what did the world actually look like back when those ancient humans walked it? A green Sahara. Forests that ran on with no end in sight. Skies so dark the stars threw shadows on the ground. Oceans crowded with life. Giants roaming every single continent. Rivers so clear and so full you could feed a whole camp in a single afternoon. And then we came along. Everywhere humans spread, the world got a little quieter. The giants vanished. The forests pulled back. The sky slowly filled with light that washed out the stars so gradually that nobody even noticed until it was already gone. What's left is still beautiful, don't get me wrong, but it's just a sliver of what used to be, hollowed out and hushed over thousands of years, until the people living in it have no idea what's even missing. Your ancestors were born into something extraordinary, and the further we drift from it, the harder it gets to remember it was ever there to lose.